Hey everyone, Nettie Owens here with Sapari Solutions, continuing our live interview series. And today I've brought Candice Kingston with me. Hi Candice, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Candice works with small business owners and high-level professionals to help them grow personally and professionally. She uses energetic leadership coaching techniques, which we're going to have to definitely dig into that and learn a little bit more, to help uncover roadblocks that may be holding you back from reaching your true potential and creating a life and business that you love. She spent 12 years in corporate working in health insurance, not fitting in, and through the help of coaching, discovered a place where she finally felt like she could make an impact. And I believe you have. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. And also, to really jump into this question of what do businesses need to know right now about leadership? This time of pandemic and quarantine has definitely opened Pandora's box and revealed those who are good at leadership and those who are not. So I'd love to kind of jump in there. Actually, tell us, maybe before we go there, tell us a little bit about conscious leadership. What is that? And I don't even know that I've necessarily heard that term before. So,
right. What is it and why should you care? Yeah. So conscious leadership is really just about you bringing your full self, your whole self to your leadership. So as a business owner, we don't want just the one piece of you that is a good leader and that can, put down the gavel and say, everybody get to work. We want your full self. And so in order to do that, you need to be conscious, which basically just means aware. Okay. So having a really solid self-awareness of who you are as a person, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your values, your priorities, all of that together brings your full self to that leadership role.
So why do you think that's so important right now, that we have leaders that are conscious and aware versus, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about what maybe the opposite of that, or what's traditionally been the case?
Well, yeah, I think, I guess I would say what's been traditional is a leadership that's more reactive instead of responsive. And so finding ways that you are, relying on your own, I keep using the word values, because really every decision should be coming from your core values and those of your company. So by having a strong sense of that and sense of who you are, that awareness, you're going to be able to lead from that place and be responsive instead of reactive, instead of taking every issue that comes up and just thinking, woe is me, this is the end of the world, right? Instead, you can say, okay, here's an issue. How are we going to deal with it? What are we going to do with this?
Okay, so conscious leadership really aims for value-centered leaders that are responsive versus reactive. And that definitely sounds like something that would be of use today. So if somebody's watching this and they're like, okay, this whole thing threw me for a loop, and I'm doing my best to continue to lead my company, and I've had to make layoffs, I've had to make really tough decisions about what products or services will continue or what we'll do going forward. How can they then apply this conscious leadership to that situation?
Yeah. No, totally. At the end of the day, a conscious leader is looking at every problem as an opportunity. And that can be tricky in a pandemic when literally I understand there's a lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities. There are situations where, obviously people are losing loved ones. I'm not trying to say, put on your Pollyanna hat and, oh, it's an opportunity that my grandparents passed away. I am not saying that. Obviously, we have empathy for those people and sympathy for people that are losing loved ones. And there's a time for grieving and there's a time for business. So putting the grieving side of this aside for a moment, I'm not saying I'm putting it under the rug, just for a second, putting it on the side. When you're looking at business decisions and things where you're maybe going to have to pivot, or like you said, change product offerings or things like that, this is a time of innovation. We have seen amazing things come out of this horrible crisis where people have had to really pivot and really, even the teachers in our schools all of a sudden doing e-learning when they've never done that before. So how can you scramble and put together something quickly? But the whole idea is that you're coming from a place of opportunity. So, okay, this is one door closed. Where's the door going to open? And that's really all it is. It's just shifting the lens that you're looking at things through, instead of looking at it through a place of blame or, oh my gosh, everything, this is just the end of my business. I'm going to have to, never, whatever, have business again. Instead, how can I shift things or make a change or start producing a different thing in my warehouse, right? Things like that.
Well, and I think, you had said to put aside the grief for a moment, but I think the grief plays an important role in that if we become aware of it and become aware of how that's impacting the workforce, the productivity, you as a human being. I mean, as a leader, you're not like immune to emotion, and nor should you be. And,
exactly. Yeah. That probably wasn't the best way to say it, because that's the whole point of being a conscious leader, is that you are leading with your whole self. So good there, Nettie. But looking at it that way, it's about bringing your whole self to work. And I always say you're not a work Barbie or a home Barbie. You are Barbie, you're one person. So you're not actually able to go to work and ignore the fact that maybe your grandparents passed away or whatever that thing is, or that your wife lost her job, or that your kids are struggling with their homeschooling, right? You actually have all of that on your mind while trying to run a business.
And that your employees do too.
Yeah, exactly. And so there needs to be a time for a little bit of vulnerability, maybe a little vulnerable share in a meeting, instead of just jumping right into business. I know that can be really uncomfortable, and I'm not saying, go to your desk and put your head down and sob all day. That's not what sharing emotions is about. It's about finding a professional way to communicate emotions instead of letting the emotions run you and manage what is going on with you. You're learning to manage the emotions.
So not like pushing them aside and not acknowledging them, and certainly not allowing them to run, rampant all over the place, but maybe if I'm hearing you correctly, it's using their emotions as a way to connect with others, to show, as you said before, empathy, and to even provide a basis for innovation. If we come, as our whole selves to the table and say, okay, well, this is what we're all dealing with, so how can we continue to be productive while working from home? Now you've got all of the pieces of the puzzle, and you can come up with decisions that are going to be more holistic in their nature.
Absolutely. Taking off those masks, and sometimes that can be a little bit scary. I have a professional mask on. I'm not going to swear in the office, and I'm going to use corporate speak, whatever. It's a little bit more than that. It's about taking off the mask, but being able to manage social situations still. So I'm not saying take off your mask and just be a crass, whatever, I don't know. Really took off the mask. Sometimes you don't want to see my mask totally off, but no, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's actually a really good point. I think there's a fear that it has to be one or the other. You're either professional or you're not. And what you're saying is there's more to you, right? There's more to you than this black and white, either the mask is on or the mask is off. How about I'm just here, and sometimes I say swear words, and sometimes I get upset, and sometimes I'm happy and jump around, like all of
human, right?
Yeah.
It is really about embracing that human experience and not just saying these are my employees and I put them in this box and I only share with them the happy things from my life. You might come to work and say, wow, my kids are really struggling with this homeschooling thing. How are you guys doing? What's going on with you? I mean, you just saw my son walk by, like, okay, well, we're in a new era of Zoom calls where cats are jumping on people's, laps, and dogs are barking. All these things are going on. Just embracing that and having way more empathy and way more compassion as a leader, but starting with yourself. And so starting with that self-awareness so that you can then lead others.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and especially starting with yourself. If people are interested, Candice, in reaching out to you, what should they do?
They can go to this link, kingstoncoaching.com. You can book a free call there, a complimentary discovery call, or you can grab my freebie.
Awesome. Thanks.